Why are we here? Again, we want to understand the expectations of what we have to do with our CE&I on construction contracts. So on today's agenda, firstly, if y'all looked at the agenda already, y'all see that Matt Jones is talking for approximately 3 hours this morning. So, hope y'all like my face, my voice, that sort of thing. Get used to it. I will be up here for quite a while. But we're going to go over just the contract administration overview, talk about Site Manager and Headlight. Those are two pieces of software that we use for contract administration. Compliance will be here, I believe, after lunch to talk about the compliance programs, DBE goals, labor rates, payroll, things like that. We have folks from the MATLAB coming as well to talk about materials and testing, about QA, QC, and the difference between those two. We also have Brett Morgan, who's with our section as well. I'm section 40. We numbered everything in DOTD so we can keep track of it. But Brett Morgan's in our shop. He is the work zone inspector, so he goes around the entire state all day, every day, inspecting work zones, making sure they're out there correctly. We've got up our cones, barricades, arrow boards, all that sort of stuff that, you know, there's no deficiencies. We want to make sure we have as safe an environment as possible for the traveling public as well as the construction personnel. Venice Grigsby will be talking about construction payments. I'll talk a little bit about that as well, but she's again in section 40. She handles all the payment stuff in our group. And then Chris Durbin is in our audit section, and that's for project closeout. Three things that we generally have had the most issues with on LPA CE&I projects are the construction payment, making sure contractors are getting paid on time, the project closeout, making sure once we're completely done with that, we're getting all the paperwork and wrapping everything up and getting that turned in. And then also the QA/QC program, making sure we're getting the proper number of samples done, that the testing is getting recorded, all that sort of stuff. So those are the three main issues that we've had. So, you know, when those parts come up, you know, pay special attention to that, make sure we're getting all those done correctly. So where can you go for help? This is, so I've done this class, I don't know, it's probably my fourth or fifth time up here speaking about this. The group at LTAP and Office of Planning were nice enough to get this updated. So we recently updated our DOTD webpage, but if you need information, you can go to the About section. Office of Planning is now where all of the LPA information can be found. So this is the new website. There's the LPA information right there. So it kind of goes over what the LPA is, a local public agency, you know, entity. It could be a city, parish, school district, whatever. You know, you're securing federal funds to construct some sort of project. And so there's, you know, with all things federal, there are strings attached and guidelines that you have to follow. So. Looks like the same thing. Did I go backwards? All right. This is just a QR code for you to be able to, you know, access it easily if you, you know, are on your phone, that sort of thing, be able to access the direct link. All right. So basic information. The entity state agreement. Y'all probably went over this before in the 3-day class, but this is the contract that y'all have with the state. So this is, you know, for consultants, this is what the city, parish, whomever contracted with the state says what the requirements are. So this will have the project number, the project title, where the project's being done, the legal name of the, you know, entity, project description, and then the important parts is where we're really getting into the percent of federal fundings and the local match. So most of these I think are 90-10 splits. On a lot of these, some are 80-20, some are, you know, 100% federal, but if there's something that goes over, you might have to, you know, provide local funds for any overages. So In that contract, it kind of goes over that. Hey, this is, you want to make sure that your estimates are as accurate as possible so that, the federal funds are there, that if bids were to come in over, a lot of times in those entity state agreements, it says any overage might be the responsibility of the entity. So be aware of that. Of course, work with your project managers with DOTD to secure additional funding if it does go over, but just know that that language is in there. You will need to have a responsible charge. I think we go over the definition of a responsible charge. A lot of the stuff we go over today is a repeat, so I do a lot of the general stuff in the morning, and then the folks in the afternoon go over all the specifics of everything. So you'll have a lot of repeat stuff, but we repeat it because, of course, repetition means we're learning, right? So responsible charge, that is the person with the entity that is going to be responsible for the project. It has to be a full-time employee. It does not have to be an engineer. It does not have to be an attorney. It can be any person with the entity that is a full-time employee. So it doesn't have to be a licensed engineer or anything like that. In your entity state agreement, you'll have information like the project letting information, the cost estimate, cost reimbursements. One thing to also take note of is whether it's a reimbursement or a disbursement contract. Those two payment methods are different. There's different paperwork that goes along with that. Again, Venice will go over that in more detail later on today, but just make sure you know which contract you have. The project record keeping, what you're responsible for, how long you have to keep it, the civil rights portions, maintenance responsibilities, compliance with laws, all that's written into the contract. So, where can you find your entity state agreement? Hopefully y'all have that saved somewhere readily available. If not, you can certainly contact the department. The project manager should have a copy of it. Your construction coordinator with the department should be able to pull it up as well. We save it in a spot called FileNet. It's a wonderful program that we all love. It's very easy to find information, so don't worry about that side of it. Obviously, there's a lot of sarcasm involved in that, but we can find it eventually. Again, if you're a responsible charge, or if you weren't the responsible charge during design, because it can change, please note that, hey, if you did assign Bob Jones as your responsible charge and Bob Jones retires, leaves for, private whatever, because, they like to pay more money than us, whatever the case may be, if they leave, you need to designate your new responsible charge. Somebody else has to come in, get up to speed. So the best way to do that, hey, if you got selected, congratulations, you have won the lottery, no need to get a ticket. Go back through, read up, because you are responsible as an employee of the entity to know what's going on with the project, where it is, whether it's in design, construction, what's going on with it. You got to be able to answer questions like that. So most important thing, this is the contract with DOTD, and once we get into construction, this is y'all's contract. So it's not DOTD's contract, it's the entity's contract with the contractor, which I'll probably go over here in just a second. All right, like I said, because we have the FHWA DOTD stewardship agreement, we are required to facilitate LPA jobs. And again, there's strings attached, which means you have to do these things in, according to our specifications, using our software, that sort of thing, so that it's all consistent. We can't have, 30 different entities with 30 different tracking methods for us to try to go back through and figure those things out. So it just makes it easier if we're all using the same information and doing the same thing, all pulling, in the same direction. So LPA signs the formal contract. So again, it is your project. We will reiterate this over and over again. This is your project, not DOTD's entity's project. So I already mentioned this, if there's a bid overrun, you may have to account for that with local funds. Again, we'll try to secure whatever federal funds we can, but that's usually in the ND state agreement that if it goes over, you may be responsible for that overage. All right, so working with DOTD. So responsible charge, this is of course the entity's person. You'll be the contact with your CENI, or if you're doing it in-house, if you're a large enough entity and you've got your own engineering department, construction department, where y'all are inspecting it yourselves, you will be the liaison there, as well as with the contractor, utility relocations, your governing body, all that sort of stuff. That's who you deal with, as well as the project coordinator. So this is the person on the DOTD side. This is, of course, once we get into construction. Prior to that, it would have been the project manager. But project manager generally hands this over to the construction side. It's usually one of our project engineers. And they'll be your liaison with FHWA, other DOTD staff. So if you need some specialty stuff, if something comes up, you got a problem with some compliance stuff or geotechnical issues, things like that, we do have folks in-house that can kind of help and guide you in the right direction. But yeah, this is kind of the go-between right here. That's an important portion. So there are a lot of videos, the documentation that y'all have right now, all that sort of stuff can be found on the websites. So, again, you can look at the QR code, but this goes over all of these various categories, in case once you leave here, you go to bed and you wake up the next day and poof, it fell out, and now I gotta go back and remember what it was. That guy got up there and he talked for 3 hours and droned on, and I kind of fell asleep. So, but I remember something about some project development, right away, finance, whatever. Again, you can go back, look at some videos and or watch these videos again, because they are very invigorating. If you want to, listen to me talk again, I like going and checking out how many views I got. It makes me feel special. So if y'all want to, just click on it, have it running in the background, that sort of thing, that's perfect. Responsible charge. So again, it's right there in the title, right? Responsible charge, your responsibility, right? Y'all got to keep it moving. It's y'all's project. Want to keep that thing rolling down the tracks. Y'all want your project finished on time, on budget. We want you to finish on time and on budget and get that sucker closed out so we can all have a great project for the public. So just remember, responsible charge. All right. So again, there is an actual definition in the CFR. That stands for Code of Federal Regulations. That is one thing I forgot to mention to start with in the intro is we all love our acronyms. So if I throw out a bunch of initials and y'all like, I don't know what that means, LPA, CFR, DBE, all those sort of things. If one of those, I say, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Matt Jones, please explain this. Just, again, I kind of talk in this language a lot throughout the day, the week, the months, the years. So it's kind of second nature to me. I know what I'm talking about, but y'all might not understand the same language. Again, I also have a bit of a, redneck accent, so it can, some of those A's and E's and whatever kind of blend in with other letters. So, but again, not required to be an engineer. It does have to be a full-time employee, but the CFR kind of goes over those responsibilities, but this is it right here. So the key role, you have to attend all meetings. If you are not at those key meetings, this is the pre-construction conference, bi-weekly meetings or monthly meetings, if y'all are having, I guess partnering meetings, things like that, you should be in attendance. You need to know what's going on with your project. There are certain key meetings that if you are not in attendance, then that meeting technically is not supposed to take place. You can't just turn it over to your CE&I and let them handle everything and be oblivious to whatever's going on, and then, you know, we get 3/4 of the way through and something's been going on for 3 months and the responsible charge is like, well, I didn't know about that. You need to stay engaged, you need to stay involved. So that's for the entity folks, you know, make sure whoever that is, whoever that's designated to, that they are remaining involved in the project. Now, saying all that, need to be involved. They don't have to be out there every day doing the inspection, checking on the day-to-day activities that the contractor's doing, that sort of thing. But you gotta be able to answer questions, because if we get something from the public, or hey, why is this going on, and we ask the responsible charge, you need to be able to answer that. You might not be able to answer it right off the bat, but hopefully within a few hours you can find out whatever's going on, that sort of thing. But certainly not required to be out watching the construction go on every day. So, previously with these, everybody was split up into teams and that sort of thing. I think probably now we're just going to do a free-for-all. You know, this is the interactive part of the program, so we got several questions that'll come up throughout the day. But does an LPA responsible charge have to be a licensed professional engineer? True or false? False. Very good. That one we got. All right. All right, so questions. Again, I'm construction administrator. Make sure, again, if you're going to email me, there is a state trooper. I go by Matt Jones, but there's a state trooper, Matt Jones. He got the email address first. So Matt.Jones goes to state trooper Matt Jones. Matthew.Jones2 comes to me. So if you need legal advice or want to try to get out of a ticket, Matt.Jones. Hopefully he never sees this recording and is like, that's that guy I got to get now. But for construction related things, you can email me here.